What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CCAU2G show, where we are reporting straight news, all facts today. Okay. Today topics we have unemployment rate, median household income, average rental costs, average mortgage payments, average car notes, average car insurance, and this is all in the state of Georgia. So let's go ahead and let me ask these questions first. Is what I'm about to report facts? Straight off the internet, off Google, off reports and the state of Georgia Census Bureau. Is Georgia moving in the right direction? I would say yes from the facts, yes from my knowledge base. And is hostility blinding Americans? I want to answer that at the end. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the unemployment rate. As of today, Georgia has probably its lowest unemployment rate, sitting at 3.5%. What that means is companies are hiring and they are retaining their employees. Okay, that means customers are buying more because they have money. Okay, that means the average income, for couples will be sitting at $81,309. For single men, is $62,301, and for single women, it's $50,919. Now, yes, that is a huge gap between single men and single women, and that's just what America's been fighting for, for a long time here. Not to dive too deep into that, but for single men to make $62,301, you're probably making around, I would say, 28, 29, almost $30 an hour. And for single women, you're making 24, 25 in that area. And for couples, I would say it's probably around the lower 20s, 20, 21, 22 dollars an hour. That's good money, man, in the 20s, but most of these jobs that pay that high are, trade job skills, a trained mechanic, a trained engineer, high degree jobs. In the state of Georgia, at least, companies like foreman jobs, electrical engineering, of that nature, management jobs. You're not going to get a $62,000 job, $50,000 job, or $20 hour to $30 an hour, not having a degree or anything like that. I've seen it though. I've seen it happen. But I've only seen it in like rare cases where a young man is making $35 an hour with no degree. He's just been at the company for 5-10 years, and he was down the line, best employee of the month, all that type stuff. So with that money, you gotta have a roof over your head. So the average rental cost for a one bedroom is $1,350, around $1,500. In Georgia, I would say yes. That's for decent. That's for newer models, newer model apartments. For 2-bedroom, $1,500, $1,600. That's for the lower end. In Georgia, you got apartments that cost $3,000, $5,000, a month. Is this affordable? Yes, but you're gonna have to have a short end, which we're gonna get into that, in the next few moments here. But most people in Georgia want homes. They want land. They want to cut their grass. It's the American dream to cut your grass, have flowers in the yard, and everything. So the average mortgage payment is $1,900, and that's for homes built in the 90s to 2000s, and then for newer homes, it's around $1,700. Yes, these are all affordable. Should a single person be buying this? You're pretty much taking a whole week, a third of your payments for a house. I would say, get an apartment. And because it's not covering full housing, full housing is $2,000. That's over your weekly income, your monthly income, and that's not including like gas, lights, furniture, food expenses, depending on how you live and everything. But to each his own. Georgia has, some affordable housing around here, around the 800s, 900s living, but it's not going to be new. You're not going to get no 1200 apartment that's built in 2026. It's not going to happen. It's just, get your skills, get your degrees, and apply for the top jobs, and keep the job, And average car note. I would say this one right here, this average car note is kind of on the high end. The average car note is $697. For a new car, it's $799. For a used car, it's $537. I look out on the street, I don't really see that many new cars, especially around, men in their 30s, they're driving a truck, 2015, 2020, probably paid for, bought off, a low end dealer, no shame, get you to point A to point B. These cars, for the 697, 799, that's a 2025, 2026 car, most definitely, because the car insurance for full coverage in the state of Georgia is $228. That's if you have a clean record, if you have no accidents, no tickets, following the law. Minimum, probably see a lot more people with this is $65 a month, and so these are all accurate statements and all accurate facts, about the state of Georgia. And with these numbers, is Georgia moving in the right direction? Yes, because we have low unemployment. That means a lot of people are making towards this money. We're able to have nice living, comfortable living. But is the hostility blinding Americans? Like, when you go to a work job, and you got rude employees, a rude boss. Is it blinding? Yes, because you're making a lot of money, but it's blinding because you don't know where to spend that money without a clear mind and everything. So make sure you have a clear mind when you go to these jobs, man. Keep the job, stay focused. Don't let no one take you away from what you got going on in the world, because you can have it 1 month and then lose it in the next 10 months. You never know. So always keep a checking account too, man. Because the average checking account should have around $10,000 in it. But hey, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to the CCAU2G show, where we reported nothing but facts. This is episode 2, and I'll see y'all next time. Thank you.